Hello, my name is Jonathan Forster, and welcome to the Multi-Story Thinking Podcast. I'm an interior designer and educator. My job is to improve quality of life and productivity by helping people to create beautiful and practical spaces to live and work in. The Multi-Story Thinking Podcast takes an educational slant to the interior design world. So sit back, relax, as we help unravel the mysteries of interior design. In this episode, we meet Iris Dunbar. Iris is the director of the Interior Design School in London. She's been a pioneer of interior design both in her practice and with her passion to promote interior design. She's been instrumental in moves to professionalise the interior design industry. She's a former president of both the British Institute of Interior Design and International Federation of Interior Designers and Architects. Her aim is to establish interior design as an essential discipline within the built environment industry. I met Iris in the Story Club, a co-worker space close to her design school location in Paddington. In this episode, we discover Iris's definition of interior design, the importance of integrating interior designers into the build process from the start, how better educated clients and more focused design briefs can help the design process, and why you should all learn to use a pencil.
It's a story club which is for the tenants of Paddington Central.
Yeah.
So it's owned by British Land, and it's actually a breakout space for all the big companies, because we've got Visa, Mars. There's lots of big companies that people use.
We'll come on to your interior design school in a little while, but you're located.
So we're located. We've just moved to Paddington Central at the entrance to Paddington Central, and we've got a studio and office space.
Yeah. And this space, I like this space because it's been well designed.
Yeah, I think British Land are one of the key developers who believe in design. They're the major sponsors for London Design Festival, and they really invest in design. And this was designed by Gensler, and you can see also they believe in healthy spaces, and you can see from the walkway with the planting the importance of that as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of greenery. I've got some pictures, so I'll put some links to those pictures on the notes. But this is a great example of good interior design.
I think so. I think they've obviously considered how the spaces will be used and looked at what people are looking at for hiring rooms, and as well as you can almost see the materials and colour palette running through.
Yeah.
There's a real consistency.
It's a strong colour palette, and there's lots of different spaces for different activities. So we've had a wander around to try and find somewhere quiet to chat, but there's spaces to meet and relax and think. And
I think it works well for us as an escape from the studio.
Yeah. And
it's a good place to bring people if you want one-to-one chats.
Yeah. What's your definition of interior design? Do you have one?
I do. What's interesting, having worked internationally, Britain, we call it interior design, but of course in Europe it's interior architecture, in Mexico interioristas, around the world everybody calls it differently. But the definition is about really the inside space. So I think when I'm talking to students, they do get confused about interior decoration, interior design, interior
There's quite a wide
architecture.
spectrum, isn't there?
Yeah, but what I say is that the architect is the visionary of the building, and the interior designer works from the inside out, and they meet at some stage.
Sometimes, effectively.
And sometimes not. But the ideal new build should actually have a team of people, and I think that's what, when I trained as an interior designer many years ago, it was when an architect decided that interiors should be taught within the School of Architecture and the School of Design. And up until then it had been within the textile division. So it was really, in the late 60s, 70s, it was really seen as decoration.
Yes. Yeah,
But,
I think an addition at the end of a process.
Yes, instead of integral to the building process.
Yeah, I think that's when it works really well, is when you've got the interior design team on early
Yes.
in the development of the
Yeah,
building.
and understanding actually how the interior spaces work rather than just the finishes.
So it's more strategic planning, understanding moving through building.
Yes, it
activities.
should be a cohesive team. But a lot of architects believe that they can do everything with the interior, whereas their training doesn't really encompass that the same. So when it comes to the finishes and the soft finishes as well as the interior hard finishes, and colour particularly, and lighting. These are issues that sort of the interior designer can really pick up on.
You've set up the Interior Design School, which delivers, in contrast to the classic BA thing like we're involved with at Plymouth, a 1-year diploma.
It's a 1-year programme that's aimed at mid-career. So
Yeah.
it's aimed at people that were talked out of doing art and design at school and ended up doing something completely different. And we get people between 21 and 51 that want to change direction. They want to tap into their creativity. The great thing about our programme is that we teach the skills as do the universities, but the students that we have come with transferable skills. So they are not scared of contracts or Excel sheets.
Does the fact that they're often a little bit more mature and older, that had previous experience, help you with what is quite a fast-track process, I guess?
It does. It means that we get, financially they're paying for the course.
Yeah.
And they're taking the time off, so they're really committed students. And they've made the decision that this is a change of direction. So everybody that comes on the course is really committed to what they want out of it, which helps. But also they've learned how to learn. Within universities, people are coming straight from school, so they're not really mature enough to understand what they're wanting.
Different part in their lifetime as well, isn't it, with the students?
It is, and it should be seen. I mean, the advantage of going to university and being sort of enveloped with the creative spirit in university is different to what we do. We have to be much more fast track, and it also points to the different types of jobs that there are in the interior industry, which is vast compared to everybody wants to be a designer. But in fact, if you think of the stretch from project management to brief taking and all that, the sort of important things that a lot of more mature students can actually handle.
Yeah, there are, like you say, lots of different roles. We've had from Plymouth people going on to be project administrators, which is a concept you think, well, what the hell is that?
Yes.
And how do you teach that? But they've used their interior design skills, stepped slightly sideways, involved in projects, but from a more organisational.
Yes.
FF&E designers. There's so many roles within
There's
the
so
industry.
many, and I think I really do believe that as an industry, we should be informing people when they come onto an interiors course, whether or not it's spatial design or interior architecture or anything. There should be much more understanding of what the industry is about and also the sectors, because it's still the perception that it's residential.
Yes.
People still think if you say interiors.
Impact of those TV programmes, possibly.
It is, but I suppose it's the fact that everybody is an interior designer. Everybody paints a wall and moves a chair, so the home is what they think of when they think of interior design, as opposed to actually stretching out. In every building you go into, it should have had attention from an interior designer.
Yeah, and you got involved quite a lot with some of the bodies trying to develop and professionalise interiors.
Absolutely. A few years ago I joined the BIDA, at the time British Interior Design Association, on the educational side, and what became evident was that it was an association, it was a networking organisation, and at the time there was a strong body of people on the board that actually wanted to make a difference and wanted to parallel interiors with the Architectural Institute, the RIBA, very strong. So we went to Companies House and put forward a proposal to become the British Institute of Interior Design, which took a lot of time and effort. It wasn't an easy journey, but in fact it is the body that actually offers the contractual aspect. It's a body that you have to be registered. It's the impression to a lot of the industry is that it's residential biased, but it's not. It's actually aimed at in capturing the whole industry, that we can actually work together. Work together towards, for the client point of view, on fees and contracts, etc. So I think there's a real need for people to be involved. Every student can join as a student member, and it encourages people to do CPDs throughout their professional career.
There's a lot of resources to tap
Absolutely,
into.
yeah. Knowledge Hub, the CPDs, etc. So I believe that it's essential that every interior designer should actually belong.
Of course, there are some other organisations.
There are a few.
Yeah.
However, we were granted the institute status on the basis that we were the organisation that leads.
Yes.
That BIDA began in 1965. A lot of the other organisations are younger.
Yeah.
And I think with anything you have to look into what you get out of it.
Yeah.
And
do you think the interior design industry suffers in a little way from a lack of clarity about its identity, or a confidence about who we actually are and what we're trying to do?
Yes. Well, after I was president of BIID, I went onto the board of the International Federation of Interior Architects and Designers, which is a bit of a mouthful, but it's because the identity is people call themselves interior designers or interior architects.
Yeah.
So we actually held a seminar in New York to actually work out what is the identity of the interior designer. And the seminar had 100 people from different places all around the world actually coming together and questioning what the identity was. But what we came up with was not so much the identity, because every country did talk about different definitions, but we produced a declaration that actually has some key wording on the spatial importance of the interior. And one in particular is this one. It is, after all, humanity, our ultimate client, that we design. We shape the spaces that shape the human experience. And I think that, it's just all these little sayings. Actually, when they were read out after the seminar, people were really emotional because all their lives they tried to actually get over.
Yes. Yeah. We use space responsibly. We practice our profession with highest regard for engaging the world's economic and natural resources in a sustainable manner. We design for health, safety, well-being, and the needs of all. That was a great little captured sentences. It was amazing how that was done in a day. In a day, this groups were put into, and it was complete. And then a group of people put this together, and what came out of it was the words in general: value, relevance, responsibility, culture, business, and knowledge. And what is evident is when you talk about interiors, you don't think of responsibility or relevance and value being the issues that come forward. And this has now been adopted by 120 cities around the world. For me, those phrases resonate because they underpin your approach, don't they? Yes. Not your aesthetic language or the type of projects you do, but some core philosophies that should be guiding us all, some principles. Yes. Yeah. And in fact, I think the responsibility as a word, what we do as designers is we should be pushing the client more for them to understand that they're responsible for the building. And I think as a word, it doesn't come up enough. Yeah. And I think that as designers, we should be leading more when it comes to actually directing clients with budget and administration of the projects, etc. Yeah, part of the problem, I guess, is that we're often brought in at the end of the process where lots of decisions have been made and are irreversible, and there's more core cultural changes that you need to get a client to do. Mm-hmm. It's too late often. Well, it is, and I think that's where, I believe that if the profession comes together, there will be more possibility that we can actually approach businesses and client base with theories and research rather than actually on the job. On the job it's very difficult, but I think the perception's got to change. Yeah. So actually reaching out to bodies like the Institute of Directors and really making sure that
that people understand the importance that design should be in every business.
Yeah.
It should be a design director on every board.
Yeah, not just design companies.
That's right. And it okay, we represent interiors, but it goes across the board. That the integration of the disciplines are becoming closer and closer. So design in general has to be shouted at.
In my company, we approach projects. We're often thinking about how human resources and FM people in a business really need to be part of our process, because some of the things that we want to implement have an impact on that, whether that's the way in which people work or the spaces that they use. And if you don't get the FM people in or the human resources people in, you can't really communicate the value as successfully as, because they understand the value. So, for example, well-being being a key thing that we're trying to push in design, the impact of poorly designed spaces on people's health. The HR team will know about that because they're dealing with sickness and retention issues. The managing director may not even be aware of it.
But so it is coming through more on workspace. I think in the last 10 years there's been a difference, but it has to open up more to everything. I mean, care homes are the area that the third age. It's actually not reaching enough sectors. But I think with world issues, everybody is talking about it. But we're at the core of actually specifying. When it comes to sustainable materials and educating students to actually think in an appropriate manner, not just on the materials that they use, but spatially as well. Is really key to everything, isn't it?
How do you encourage your students to take on these issues of sustainability and the wider economic context?
We have a sort of workshop with Anna Whitehead, who's a sustainability expert, and she talks to them in general about everything. But what we've found in the last few years is the students are leading it now.
Right.
So in fact, it is becoming integral to. It's absolutely necessary that every material that you're using has to have been addressed. So I think these issues are beginning to sink in.
Yeah, lots of companies are now really focused on sustainability, aren't they?
Yes. I think the one issue is that it is a more expensive option, and it's still convincing clients to go that route.
Yeah.
So I think that's the constant fight that we have.
Just thinking to your own design history, you worked in lots of interdisciplinary teams, architectural, building, design companies, including building design companies. Is that correct?
Yeah, Building Design Partnership.
Building Design Partnership.
Yeah. BDP.
BDP. How important is it to work in those teams, and how can we encourage people to do that?
Well, I think looking at the industry in general, we don't have a choice. We have to work in teams, and for young designers, it's really good to get work experience within a team, to understand how they operate within the team, and also it's becoming more and more that it's not a singular industry. It doesn't matter what you do. You've got the client, the builder, and the designer. So that's a team to start with. So it's essential to understand that process, but also at the same time be able to identify your individuality within that, and that's probably a difficult thing if you get sort of swamped into a team that you can't actually rise above the parapet.
Yeah, just get absorbed by stronger forces.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the aspect of learning, and the fact that as an industry, you never get bored. As an interior designer, you're always learning, always new things coming about, and also taking new challenges on. So I think that's what's to be encouraged within any designer, of not staying static. One of the other aspects, just looking at the projects I've been involved with in the past, like Albert Dock in Liverpool, historic buildings and the actual importance of recognising on a sustainable level how important it is to actually bring buildings back to life, and not demolish them. And I think our country are leaders in that, but also it's for younger designers to actually be able to recognise the worth of the building they're using and actually not leave it behind.
Yes, that, well, there's those two approaches, the kind of adaptive reuse approach of taking an old building, adapting it and reusing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're sitting here in the Paddington area here, and everything is new build.
Yes.
And these wonderful spaces that we're in at the moment are in essentially rectangular, steel-framed, glass-walled boxes, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
So your challenge of interior design here is still there, but what's the difference when you're using an old building? What do we need to think about?
Yes, it's actually bringing back the sort of core of the building and the ingredients that are used. And I think it can be seen on different levels of an old building and a new building, but also the view out the window. You know, a lot of people don't actually take that into account when they're doing an interior. They just close their eyes and specify. Yeah. Whereas the building itself and what you see around it is key to what you're doing inside. Really.
Yeah, and then making those changes to either emphasise or take advantage of certain features that were part of the historic context but have changed to be renewed for a new purpose. I find this this sort of new build interior is quite fascinating because essentially you've got a blank canvas and you can put anything in the space, and almost, particularly in the shopping malls, you see lots of different branded spaces going in, and you are transported to some themed restaurant which has no connection with the space, no historic link. I don't know whether one needs to have a link with the building, but it's quite nice when you're working on older buildings to try and bring in some of that narrative of what was going on.
Yes, and I suppose that does come, with restaurants and retail. There is a sense of imagery that you're, or fantasy that you're actually producing that needs to be different. So that's a different angle, and I suppose that opens up. I mean, the whole aspect of interiors in general, with the digital world and what we have to play with now is much wider in terms of different disciplines that we're dealing with.
Opens up opportunities. Just going back to the teaching practice, what's your approach to how you get your students to develop their ideas in terms of what are they using? Are they using sketchbooks and model making, or
yes,
get them onto CAD?
We encourage the courses that we run are quite fast track, and we encourage everybody to use a pencil and to think with a pencil. It's more difficult for our students because they've been away from the art department in the school for a long time, so it is a challenge. But being able to explore with a pencil and also with imagery, we still do. At the beginning of the course, we do cutouts of magazines for image boards, rather than relying on the computer, and try and encourage handheld tools and things like that, so that you're thinking differently. We introduce CAD in the course, but we also we use SketchUp. We encourage students to really integrate drawing into their computer drawings, so that it becomes a dialogue rather than an end product. And
You've got the two working together.
Yeah, and I think that for people to understand that the drawings are not the end product, that it's the journey to the building being built. And a lot of the time, perhaps on bigger projects, people get hooked into the drawing process and they forget that it's going to be built. Yeah. So I think that's understanding the different types: the exploratory drawing, the presentation drawing, and the drawing for building. The three aspects is what we sort of encourage them to understand.
And they go out on a placement, don't they? We've had in the past.
Yes, students from
some great students from your skills.
Yeah.
I think Henrik. Well,
that way back. Yes, Henrik.
He was the first one we had.
Yes.
But so your students go out. You put them out on a little placement.
Throughout the year, we talk to them about the direction that they want to go. Some particularly want to do residential. Some want to go into commercial, or both. And also some have come from large companies and want to go into small practices, or vice versa. So it's actually getting the right mix. and getting the right direction.
How do you encourage them to find that route?
We ask from the beginning of the application process. We're asking them questions of what they want, what they see their direction going, and I think for students to understand the breadth of the profession is really important. Before they even get to us, we ask them to do a critical analysis of a space, so that they're beginning to look and understand where they would fit into the design practice. So we take them for visits and actually ask practicing designers to come in on each project at the end, so that they're getting that input from the industry.
Yeah, seeing the exit opportunities, isn't it? I think many people come into interior design probably with quite a narrow focus on what they think that job role is.
Yes.
As you said earlier, there's quite a wide range of things.
It's amazingly wide. I mean, for students to come out of university and actually be faced with a client is a big leap. So understanding how to have a communication, how to actually use, we use image board processes of adjectives, try and get the design narrative involved more, so that they're comfortable about selling their ideas. And I think that's again what needs to be encouraged. It's not just drawing, it's actually being succinct with, at the end of a project, can you actually say in one sentence what the project was about?
Yes, I have that with my lot.
Yeah.
Trying to describe everything they've ever done on the project, when actually you want to know what they've achieved.
Yes.
Results.
Yeah.
Done. Yeah, it's difficult, that, isn't it? Because people come into education not knowing how to present. I suppose that's why we're here, isn't it, to teach them?
Yeah, well, that's right. But sometimes the teaching isn't as well rounded. The direction might. I feel that a lot of the time in universities, projects are too big. Interior projects, students should be taught how to detail a bathroom. They should be taught the language
smaller pockets of learning,
building,
yeah.
And how to instruct their ideas, to make their ideas work.
Yeah. So that's, I guess, with the time that you've got, you are being more focused about the key skills that they may need when they go out.
Yeah, we have one project that we asked them to design a bathroom, but also to produce a contractual pack. So it includes the specification, scope of works, and we talk to them about fee structures and working in teams, etc. So the professional practice is integrated into each of the projects, which I think is really key to the language that they're having, so that when they go into practice, they don't feel awkward.
It's really great to see you can do that in a year. We spent 3 years doing our course.
Yes.
It's a different context. But
I think it's different because what you're doing is you're having to teach them how to be adults in the education world. I think there's a big
at
leap.
BA level.
Yes, at BA level you're actually, whereas students are coming to us with a direction that this is what they want to do. So we have to pack it in.
Yeah.
It's fast.
Yeah.
Fast track.
Yeah. Right.
IFI exists to expand internationally and across all levels of society the contribution of interior architecture design profession through the exchange and development of knowledge and experience in education, practice and fellowship. It's all words, isn't it?
It's quite ambitious, isn't it?
It is very ambitious, and in fact, what comes over is the amount of countries and this declaration. I mean, I've been at some of the ceremonies when people in Turkey and Japan and Mexico, when people are, the government are actually signing a declaration that they will include interiors in their.
Do we have this in the UK?
We haven't managed to get. That would be my ultimate goal, to get the mayor to, but.
You do see that design. Well, do you? Is there any? I'm just thinking maybe Bristol and the mayor there Did you introduce a more design-led approach? I mean, that's really...
I think Bristol did, because they had an architect who was a mayor at one stage.
Yeah.
But when I was on the board, it's a difficult ask. I think in Britain we're not. I don't know if it's as necessary.
To have
because just as you say that the BIID is only one associate. I mean that it's so disparate, the whole profession. It needs to.
I think these platforms of interest, though, health and well-being, resiliency, social responsibility, economic viability, environmental stewardship, and universal inclusive design.
Yes.
Those are pretty core philosophies, aren't they? Approaches which it's quite straightforward to adopt as part of what we teach.
Yes.
And how we practice.
Yes, and it almost... The thing is that we're doing it, but this is actually highlighting it.
Yeah.
I think, even when it comes to our education as designer, we're always... We've been taught to work and to work in a sustainable manner, but the word sustainability has just come up recently.
Yeah.
But
it's always been there.
We're always looking at an appropriate way of doing things, and
I think it's something that the clients should be taught.
Yes. Well, that's why it's gone to government. I mean, this in Nigeria, there isn't interior design taught in the universities in Nigeria, and this has now been adopted by the Nigerian government, and they've started to look at building it, bringing in regulation for interiors, not just architecture, at that level, and see how important it is, because it's crucial.
So just thinking about why is interior design so crucial?
It's the way we live. It touches all of us. If the lighting's not good enough, we can't read. It goes right through. How you feel, how you approach things, but just getting from A to B throughout a space. Unless the space has actually been considered, I think, which is another word for designed. But a lot of the time, somebody will want to do their interior and they hire a builder. They don't actually understand the importance of decision making, and that sort of, then everything goes wrong, because where do you put the mirror if the 6'6" builder is actually putting it?
There's lots of shorter builders, but I guess it's about taking control, isn't it, of the process and delivering it for the people that are actually using it. Because I think that's what happens sometimes, is people design spaces without properly knowing who's using it.
Yes, but they don't identify who. They don't even think. I mean, this sort of whole thing about the brief and identifying what the space is needing to be done. I mean, it was a great example of Charles Shoney Mackintosh designing Hill House, and he designed a drawer underneath the window for Mr. Blackie to put his binoculars so he could see the boat on the river. And it's so absolutely what the designer should be doing.
Right down to that detail.
Right down to that detail of understanding how the client feels and works, and making people's lives better.
I think that's the great thing about it, because it has that scope from the strategic, the master plan of the space, right down to the touchy-feely bits.
I think in terms of education, our responsibility is also with our students to get them to recognise the wider picture and the team, and not to go in and do building without knowing what the concept of that building was. So the research and the outside side of it is very important, instead of just saying, I want my stamp on it. The bigger picture.
I'd like to thank Iris for taking the time to talk to me. The Interior Design School provides a 12-month course, which is ideal for people who want to fast-track the process of becoming an interior designer and perhaps take a sideways step into something more creative. It sets out to create designers that can go straight into industry in a similar way to what we're looking to do with our BA course at the University of Plymouth. If you want to become a kick-ass interior designer, there's a link to both Iris's course and the course down in Plymouth on the show notes. Iris mentioned the importance of being able to use a pencil. We're currently running a project with our students at Plymouth University where the first stages have to be all done by hand. It's reconnecting with those core skills of communication and idea generation. Looking forward to seeing the results of that. They'll be moving on to computers later in the module. We think of the pencil as your best friend who can help you design your way forward in a project and communicate your ideas effectively and quickly. I'd like to thank Dave Clark from I Am the How for all his technical support and advice during the setup of this podcast, Kay Hansen for her co-hosting role and all her help in setting up and organising, and of course Mark Frith for the music. This is the last in the first series. We have a Christmas special where Kay and I will have a little chat before we wrap up for Christmas, introducing a few of our highlights as well as looking forward to the next series, which will come out in the new year. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.